How do I begin identifying my purpose? How do I find out what God created me to do in the first place? Here's one simple rule. One simple rule is that the thing in your life that won't leave you alone is the thing that God is prompting you to accomplish. I know that's real simple and y'all want me to be deep and super spiritual, but it's as simple as that. The way that I find what God has called me to do is because that calling will never leave me alone. You wake up in the morning thinking about that calling. You go to bed at night thinking about that calling. All through the day, you're wondering, why won't anybody do the things that are on your heart to be accomplished? And the reason why is because God is waiting on you to accomplish that. So I've got to identify my purpose. And one of the ways that I identify my purpose is to begin by studying the gifts and the callings of God. Some reference scripture that you can go to is 1 Corinthians, the 12th chapter, Romans, the 12th chapter, and 1 Peter, the 4th chapter. I like 1 Peter, the 4th chapter, in the 10th verse. It says, as every man has received the gift, even so let him minister the gift one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of God. So what Peter is telling us in essence is that every one of us have a calling. You don't have to copy somebody else's calling, because God has given you an individual calling to accomplish in the earth. That's how I am fruitful. I become fruitful by fulfilling what God has called me to do in the first place. When the owner of the vineyard planted that fig tree in his vineyard, he was expecting to receive fruit. What I'm saying to you is that grace has planted you where you are. And because grace has planted you where you are, you have the awesome responsibility of being fruitful with what God has laid at your disposal. You can't complain about not having enough sunshine. You can't complain about not having enough rain. God has given you everything that you need in order to be successful. Here is what Peter said again. Peter said, everything, say everything, everything that pertains to life and godliness, God has already supplied. So everything that I need to be successful, God has already given it unto me. Watch this, watch this. The second thing that I do when I'm trying to identify my purpose is don't spend another moment of my time trying to be what God made somebody else to be. You've heard me say it before. God never anoints who you pretend to be, but God only anoints who he created you to be. Let me say it again. God never anoints who you pretend to be, but God only anoints who he created you to be.